Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy, the Foodie Filmmaker, back at you with another episode. And today we are trying a new camera here. We're actually trying the Osmo DJI. What's it called? I forgot. I forgot. It's the third one though. It's that little camera, the one that gimbal style type of camera where it's very small. And so I thought I'd use it for the podcast this time because why not? Most people are using it out there to blog, to record their life and stuff like that. I've even used it to record some collaborations. I've even used it with clients to record some videos for their social media pages. And let me tell you, it's a pretty good camera here. But ultimately, I think the phone is still supreme. It's still much easier to use when it comes to the system, as I've spoken before in previous episodes. When it comes from having those videos already available on your phone, ready to edit, you can't really beat that because speed is really one of the key factors when it comes to having a system. If you're able to do things quicker along the way, it makes things just much more smooth, and it makes things a little bit more effective, I would say, as well, because when there's more steps along the way, when there's more time, there's more delay, it kind of makes you a little bit more lazier, and like you kind of just don't want to do the whole thing overall. You don't want to get into the editing phase because there's all these series of steps you got to go, from transferring the footage over to your phone if you're going to edit it there, or transfer it to the computer. And so that may take a little bit of a while depending on how big the files are, depending on the quality that you recorded in. So I just like to do it straight from the phone because I edit everything that I do on my phone. So if it's already there, I pretty much just do it. But today I wanted to try this Osmo gimbal here and see how it worked for the podcast. So far it looks pretty good. I like it. It looks decent, but we'll see how the final footage turns out. But yeah. So yes, I'm back. I'm actually doing another episode today. I actually hadn't done an episode in a while because I got sick. And had been sick for almost a whole month. And it was weird because I was sick, but I wasn't like entirely sick. Like it was like one of those like mild type of sickness where you kind of are in between, where you kind of feel like you're sick, but you're not really sick. And so the thing is, my voice wasn't really all there. And so I didn't want to come in here and be all like dying and stuff in front of you guys while I'm making the episode. So I was like, I'll just wait until I feel a little bit better and stuff. And I'm still still in that recovery phase, but I'm kind of already coming out of it. So I'm feeling a little much better. And so I thought I'd just jump in here and make an episode for you guys. Really short one. I'm going to try to keep it short. And I already have something here. I actually have this planned since the time that I went to this event, which was like a fundraiser for another podcast actually called My SGV Podcast. It takes place in the 6 to 6 over there, and they talk about all SGV and stuff like that. And so I got invited to that event. I got to meet the host, and I got to meet a ton of foodies, lots of influencers, and just a lot of business owners and stuff like that. And it was great. It was a great event. I got to participate in the panel as well, and I got to share some stuff. Of course, primarily what I'm going to be talking about in this podcast is basically the questions that were asked in that panel, because I didn't want to get in there and answer them all, even though I could have answered them all, and I could have given like a really good explanation behind all the questions that were asked. But I wanted to let the rest of the panel kind of share their own insight as well. So I pretty much just answered like 2 questions. And if you want to see some of that panel, you can go to my Instagram here at the podcast Instagram, tff.podcast on Instagram, and you can see the footage of the panel, and you can see the questions that I answered and everything. And so pretty cool, pretty fun. But those other questions I feel like were pretty important as well, and I want to kind of just touch on them here on my own podcast and kind of go over them and how I would have answered them if I had the chance to. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into those questions. So to begin, I mean, some of you guys already know who I am. My name's Louis, and I have a page on Instagram and on TikTok where I create content behind food and restaurants, beverages, and stuff like that. And the way I got started was with a restaurant. I already spoke about this in in the first episode, actually. But just briefly to touch on it, I started with a restaurant that hired me. Actually, I started with a restaurant where I was just making free content for them, and then they eventually hired me to become their social media manager. And that's kind of how I started. I started to create content for them on a business level, and then later I started my own profile just to kind of go out and explore other restaurants and be able to just connect with other foodies and influencers. And it was a fun journey, and now here we are. I still do both to this day. I still do social media management, and I'm still an influencer slash content creator slash whatever you want to call it, food blogger. We have various names that we like to go by, and so there's that. And so that's basically how I got started. As far as being able to do this full time, it's been great because on one part I get to do what I really like to do, which is to, go out, try new foods and be able to review them, be able to taste them and be able to, really savor that moment of like trying something new, trying something that was for the most part, usually made with passion, made with love, made with a certain intention, made to really make you feel a certain way. And so that's what I like about food. Everything from the taste, the presentation, the person behind it, the story behind why they even started the restaurant, why they started making food and stuff like that. So that's always interesting. And then me being able to create content around it, be able to shoot it, being able to capture that food and possibly replicate the same passion that the owner's putting into making the food, and me being able to replicate that passion by filming it and displaying it and showcasing it at the end of the day on my profile in the best way possible that highlights that passion and that deliciousness that really comes with the food itself. So there's that. And that's what I really love about it. Of course, it comes with its quirks where it's a little bit stressful sometimes just because there is a lot of content to be made. And so sometimes you do get lost in that, that passion does kind of, go away for a little bit because it becomes more work driven because you need to deliver content and there's deadlines. If you're doing social media management, that you got clients and you got to be posting for their pages every single day. You got to be coming up with new ideas, and sometimes that does become a little bit stressful because you're working with the same restaurant for a long period of time, and at first it may be easy that ideas may be coming to you because this restaurant you just started with them, so you have like all these ideas from the top of your head when you start working with them. But then as you're working with them, you kind of 2-3 months in, you're like, okay, what do I do now? Because you kind of already executed all the ideas that you had, and pretty much you got to keep going, because you may end up keeping these clients for like a year, 2 years, you got to be able to come up with content for them for that period of time. And so it can become a little bit difficult, but at the same time, it's definitely doable. And so but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's still a great experience to be able to do this full time, just because, like I said, I get to try all these things, and I get to do it full time, and I pretty much get to meet a lot of the foodies, really great people that I've met in this community, and I can't wait to meet even more of you guys. I know I've met most of you guys already in person, and I've taken even pictures with some of you guys. You guys have came up to me, and that's always very humbling. That's always very, very nice. And if you ever see me, in person, and you want to come up to me and approach me, please do so. I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna push you away or anything. You want to get a picture, we'll get a picture. You want to get me on video, doing something. You guys want to collab. You guys want to eat something, review something on camera. I'm always down for it, and always willing to do that and participate and really be part of the community that way. And so yeah, so being able to do it full time is definitely really cool. The filming process. So this is one that I really wanted to share on the panel, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. But really breaking down the filming process as far as how I go about, filming out there when it comes to, filming a restaurant, doing a collab or stuff like that, right? So how do I go about it? Do I just go and just randomly start shooting shots, and then hopefully later when I'm looking at all the shots, hopefully they all match and I'm able to, put them all together, and hopefully, I get inspired somehow. and everything just kind of fits. And I have done that to some degree, but that's not the way I approach things now. Like I said this in previous episodes, but I do have systems as far as like, how I go about these things. So usually when I'm about to go out, I usually try to, do some research on the restaurant and see what other creators have done with this place and see what kind of shots they've captured, see what kind of items they reviewed, and everything as far as like, the history of the place and the vibes that I'm getting from it. And then from there, I'll kind of just start to visualize, start to see, okay, like, based on the plays that I've seen, am I going to be able to shoot in the back, in the kitchen or not? I start to kind of just visualize in my head as far as like what kind of shots I want to get, what I want to capture. Do I want to show myself in there or not? Do I want to talk on the spot, or am I going to do a voiceover later? Am I going to get the employees maybe to participate a little bit, do certain things? Am I going to have to direct them in a certain way? Or am I just going to let them do their thing and be as spontaneous with the video and just let things happen? Whatever the case may be, I always kind of decide that before I go in. So sometimes, yes, even though it's going to be as spontaneous, I decide that I choose to have it be as spontaneous. I choose things to just happen naturally. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to let the place kind of dictate what I'm going to film. So I just kind of let the place inspire me, feel the vibes, and then just kind of just let my my phone do the work and just let it happen on the spot. But sometimes I do have a certain idea. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you know what, this place, it looks like I could do this and this and this, and this will be really cool for me to do that. So then I do go in with a series of steps that I'm gonna take when I get there, and I'm gonna capture this, I'm going to direct this, I'm going to make this happen, and certain things. And then that's pretty much how I go about filming every single spot that I do. But it's always different. Like I said, it really depends on the spot, really depends on, how I'm doing that day as well. Depends on equipment too. Maybe I don't have my full equipment with me. I don't have my full gear. I don't have a certain camera, or I don't have my phone with me, or, something, I don't have light. Lighting is good, lighting's bad, whatever, I'm always ready to shift and make adjustments depending on what the situation is at hand, when it comes to the filming. Capturing knowledge about content creation. So how do you go about that? How did I learn all this content creation and stuff? So, there was a lot of things thrown out there when it came to the knowledge of content creation. And I think most people were really all about just getting inspired, So most of, the creators out there, they basically just take inspiration, and it's an excellent source of knowledge to really learn from others because, there's those other content creators are already out there in the field. They're already doing stuff, and it's great to learn from them. If you're able to approach them and even ask them how exactly they do what they do, that's even better, just so that you understand the psychology and the mindset of the creator itself, instead of you having to just kind of figure it out based on, how they create their videos and stuff. Because you could eventually figure it out if you watch enough content of them. You kind of just do start to see the pattern, start to see like, okay, it looks like they like to capture a lot of behind the scenes stuff, or they like to capture in a certain way. They like to really get the employees involved. They have a certain, they like to start their videos with the employees, doing something like waving to the camera, or they like to start their videos with some like dramatic shot. Maybe there's like fire, something's, like they're cooking something and there's like a huge fire, or there's something like really massive, something that will capture the audience's attention real quick. Or maybe they like to start their videos by them introducing the plays. They're talking high energy. Yo, this is me, and I'm here today at this place, and they have this and this, but I heard this about this one specific thing that is really, really good. I'm going to go in there and try that. So then there's that kind of approach. So everybody has their own kind of a approach. And yeah, so learning from others is a great place to start, I would say. But you could also, the way, like I said, I've done it, I've actually, picked up books from the library and read some of them. I like to study stories behind other directors, like movie directors. But that's just because I'm based on my name here, I'm a filmmaker too, so I'm the Foodie Filmmaker. So part of my passion is also filmmaking. So I take that into account. And so I study other filmmakers and I want to learn, like, what drives them, like, how do they capture their shots? What's their mindset? Because, the really capturing footage and using a camera, using a phone, whatever, it's not that hard. It's pretty straightforward, like as far as like operating that type of equipment. You pick up a manual or you go on YouTube and you look up how to use a certain camera or certain things, adjust the settings. That's not that difficult. You pretty much know how to do that. The difficult part is actually making really good use of that equipment by capturing like uh, shots that will really not only that look good but tell the story and that engage people at the end of the day, and that really put out a message at the end of the day. So you really need to know, like, as far as like what you want out of the video, out of the footage, or whatever it is that you're capturing. You need to understand what you want the audience to really take away from that. So that's where really the psychology and understanding like how other filmmakers and how other content creators do it, that way you're able to, you that way you're able to deliver your message in the way that you want to. And so that's always pretty helpful. So read books, take courses as well. There's courses that can teach you, whether you buy a course or you just go on YouTube and you pick up a course like that. There's a lot of courses out there that can teach you how to create content, capture food with video, capture food with photography. There's courses out there that can teach you how to do that. But eventually you do want to figure out your own style. So obviously there is certain rules to photography and filmmaking, but at the end of the day, you do want to figure those out. At the end of the day, you do want to figure out your own style, but it always helps that you understand at least the basics and you understand the rules. You understand what is technically right to do in the filmmaking and photography industry. And then if you want to break the rules here and there because, that's your style, because you feel like, this is the right way to go and it's going to look better this way, then that's really up to you. But it's always helpful that you understand at least the basics and the fundamentals of everything, and then you decide if you want to go a certain way or not. And so that, taking courses can really help you. It can really help you structure things, and like I said, develop systems as far as like going from capturing your footage to editing it to eventually publishing it on whatever social media platform that you're planning to. So that can really help you out a lot. The next topic here that was spoken about in the panel was about branching out. So has anybody really considered, branching out of just doing food content and doing other types of content? And I have. Let me tell you that I've done different types of content. Like I said in previous episodes, I used to do jewelry content. So I used to work for a jewelry company where I used to make content for their jewelry business. So I used to take photography of jewelry, gold, silver, and then I used to run their e-commerce stores. So I did some website editing, I did some website building and stuff like that. I used to run their social media accounts as well. So I used to post content for their jewelry business and make videos as well, pictures. Videos were mostly about the manufacturing part of the jewelry business, which is pretty cool. If you see my boss at the time was he used to do handmade jewelry, so that's always pretty cool because you get to see the jewelry being made by hand from scratch, and that's always kind of it's cool. And at the same time, I mean, there is other technology as well. Because there is there is much newer technology where you can pretty much just draw out your design on a computer and then just have it print out on a 3D wax instead of having to take the wax itself and having to carve it by hand in order to create the design. And by hand, it could come out a little bit off just because you're doing it by hand. So you're basically just eyeballing everything and making sure the design kind of comes out in the right sizing and everything. Whereas in the computer, you can really, accurately tell the computer to size everything in a certain way. That way, everything comes out nice and perfect and 100% accurate as far as like everything, the design and the size of the ring or whatever, the necklace, whatever it is, the pendant, whatever it is that you're making out of jewelry. And so So that's pretty cool. So I used to capture content around all that, branching out right now at this point out of just food content and doing something else. I do see that happening at some point as well. Just because, like I said, I have a passion for filmmaking, and so, food is awesome. I love food, like I said, because I just love eating and I just love trying new foods. But eventually, I do want to explore other avenues and see like what else is out there, what else can I shoot, and possibly there might be something else that I might be passionate about shooting, and so. I want to discover that. I don't want to limit myself just to doing food. But for the last 3 years, I have solely focused on just food, and I think that's great. If you really devote yourself, you commit yourself to just one industry for a good while, you'll start to see that there's a lot for you to learn and a lot for you to take away, and it really teaches you something just beyond like being able just beyond dabbling, because a lot of people just dabble, they try something for a few months and then like they just kind of move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But if you spend a good time with it, you start to really love it, and you really start to respect the industry. You start to really see what's really in there. You start to discover things that other people wouldn't if they only spend months there. And so I think that's beautiful. That's an awesome feeling, but it's really not for everyone unless, of course, this is something that you really, really want to pursue and do. So, yeah, that's pretty much that about branching out. So, how to approach businesses for collabs. How to approach businesses for collabs. So, I think this question was actually answered pretty well in the panel. It was actually not part of my panel actually because there was two panels in that event. I was part of the second one, but this question was asked in the first one. I thought it was a great question. So how to approach businesses for collabs, and yeah, so I think a lot of the content creators there, they even have a bigger of a following than I do. So I expected the answers to be pretty good, and they were. But just to give my own take on this, like I basically I've done it in different ways. But mostly I just like to be pretty straight up, like I'll send them a direct message through Instagram or through TikTok. Sometimes I will email if they don't have those platforms available or for some reason they're not answering there. But I'll pretty much just be straightforward, I'll introduce myself, just a brief introduction of who I am, and then I'll pretty much just get to the point and tell them exactly what I want to do for them and why I want to do that for them. So I'll basically tell them like, hey, look, I saw your restaurant. I think it looks great. The food looks great, and I would like to come through and shoot a video for you. And I like to capture that and put it out there. And depending on, what kind of compensation I'm looking for, I'll be straightforward with that as well. So I'll be like, hey, look, all you got to do is like this will be free of cost. All you got to do is provide a certain amount of food, and I'll go ahead and capture that, and I'll take that as my compensation. Or if I am going to charge them, then I'll be like, okay, look, the cost for this is this much, and this is how much I'm giving you. I'm giving you a reel. I'm going to post it on Instagram. I'm going to post it on TikTok. I'm going to post stories. I'm going to post it on YouTube. I'm going to post it here and there. I'm going to add you as a collaborator. I'm going to run an ad around it as well, put some money behind the video and stuff like that, whatever your deal is, that's really how you go about it. You can also create a media kit where you basically go into more detail as far as like what you're going to be, like what you're going to be giving them, and you kind of go over your own analytics. You kind of break down like what's your engagement rate, what's your reach, and stuff like that. That's pretty good too. If you have that media kit, I think that really works more for like restaurants that with higher potential, with a lot more followers now, that really look and seek for more professional content creators. But the thing is with the media kit is that you basically just kind of send that out, and you basically let the media kit do the work for you instead of you going back and forth and DMing and kind of building that relationship, which I pretty much prefer that. I pretty much just prefer to really go really and get to know them and answer their questions and kind of just really provide them with the information that they're really looking for, instead of giving them over the board type of information in the media kit of things that maybe they don't perhaps understand. They don't understand like why the pricing is such and such for this much content and stuff like that. So I'd rather just break that down for them. But sometimes they don't even care. They'll just be like, you know what, I like your content. let's make something happen, and so understanding what the business owner really values at the end of the day is really what I care about. And so I try to prioritize that, and so that's what I give them, instead of just giving them like the media kit and just hoping that they get back to me. But like I said, this is just me, and there's multiple approaches. For some people, certain things will work. For certain people, other things will work. So it really depends on your profile. It really depends on your personality, and really what you feel comfortable with and what you want to do at the end of the day. How you want to approach them. So yeah. And last but not least, let's go into the last question here, which is about the toughest part of being a creator. This is another one of those questions that was from the other panel, not mine. But it was a great question as well, So what is the toughest part of being a creator as far as like being a food content creator, right? So obviously there's a lot of quirks here. And I made a video actually where I spoke about like some of the tough situations that us food content creators go into. I would highly suggest that you go and you watch that video because it is kind of interesting. I really go into detail as far as like what happens, and like it's kind of funny to some degree as well. So if you have a chance, go watch it. It's probably like 2 or 3 episodes before this one. It's in a new studio, so it's pretty recent. But yeah, so go check that out. But yeah, just to go into a little short summary here, there's things like the Resistance Task Force, which is the main one that I currently face with, and I think a lot of creators face, which is like you go there, staff has no idea what's going on. They don't want to give you what they promised they were going to give you, or they're just acting a little bit weird when you go there, right? You're gonna go do your collab, and they kind of just treat you like like who the hell are you? Like it's just kind of it just makes the whole situation weird. And maybe they give you like the food that you requested, but they give you like this look of like, oh my goodness, like we're giving away so much food, and like you could just tell like they just are not with it and stuff like that. And so that's pretty much the Resistance Task Force. But then there's other things like, sometimes you stack a lot of collabs in one day. So then you just like, you're pretty much like in food coma the whole day, and like you're pretty much like not even eating the food because you go from the first collab, maybe that's the one where you actually eat, and then the second one you're kind of like not really that hungry, but you still got to do it. And then you get to the third one, you're like less hungry, and you're just like, oh my goodness, like I don't even want to see food anymore. But you're trying to build up your profile, right? You're trying to do as many collabs as you can. So you do it anyway, and or maybe you traveled from a long distance, and so you want to take advantage of you being in that area for that particular part of the day. So you're trying to do as many collabs as possible in that day, and it's just but that's pretty much it. Yeah, and then there's other things, but it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, but I think the toughest part really is staying consistent. Staying consistent is really the hardest part, and I think that's really what they said in the panel, which is just to be consistent, because there's a lot of things happening. Everybody has their own personal lives at the end of the day, and so everybody has responsibilities. And at the end of the day, like maybe this isn't something that you're doing like full time like me, and so you're trying to grow it, but at the same time, there's other things that you gotta do. You gotta go to work. You gotta go do this, that, and so eventually, maybe the collabs are not coming through. They're not messaging you to go and review them, and so, in those times, you really have to go out and approach and send a few messages out there and be like, hey, can I collab? Can I do this? Can I do that? Right? And so it takes a little bit more of it takes more. You got to be more proactive, I guess. You got to be more proactive. And so that takes a little bit more energy. It takes a little bit more willingness from you. And so that may be a thing, but at the end of the day, like I said, it's a tough thing. But if you really want to make it happen, you really want to do it, just keep at it. Do it. If you fall off, if you're getting consistent for a while, it's okay. It happens. Just get back into it and try one more time. Try to find a consistent rhythm where it's like, like you're able to do like 1 or 2 collabs per week, and try to keep that consistent. And then, and then maybe even drop it even just to one. If it's too difficult, just do one. make it very easy just to stay consistent. Be like, okay, I'm gonna do one collab per week, and I'm gonna make sure I stick to that. And then if you're able to do, and then you bump it up. If you're able to, to hold that off for like 2 months, then maybe after 2 months you're like, okay, let me try to do 2 collabs per week, and then so on and so forth, until you feel like, okay, maybe 3 is your max. 3 collabs per week is the most that I can do and stay consistent with it. And that's good, because at least you're doing 3 per week instead of doing like, maybe 5, this week. And then the next week you do 2. And then the next one you do 7. And then the next one you do nothing. And then the next one you do 2 and something like that. So it's always like weird. It's always like, some weeks you're giving your audience lots of videos. And the next one you're only giving them like a little bit, and it's just like all over the place. And so yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty much it. A little quickie here. That's pretty much what was discussed in that podcast, in that panel at that event. And yeah, and it was pretty fun. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I wish the food part of that event would have been a little bit better, just because all there was a few samples for us to grab. And I personally, I don't know if they know this, but I personally didn't participate in the whole grabbing food crawl type of deal where you can go around and get all the samples. I just didn't have the time for it. I was primarily there just to speak on the panel and really say, hi to pretty much all the creators that were there and be able to meet them in person. But other than that, I really had no interest in participating in that food crawl, just because I didn't think it was enough. I wish it would have been more like a, free for all, being able to choose whatever it is that you wanted. But you know what? It's fine. At the end of the day, it is what it is. But yeah, great event, and hope to be able to participate in another one. The guys of the podcast, they were great as well, and hopefully maybe be able to participate in their podcast. That would be really awesome, actually. But I still haven't participated in anybody else's podcast. I am open to it. Anybody who hosts a podcast and wants to have me as a guest, I'm here. But until then, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some stuff about me and about the industry here. And so, yeah. So make sure you follow me here on YouTube at the Foodie Filmmaker. Make sure you catch all the episodes. If you have any ideas for the episodes, make sure you let me know. I do want to bring in a guest very, very, very soon, so that will be happening soon. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the quality here. Like I said, filming in the new device here. Yeah, follow me on Instagram at the Foodie Filmmaker, and follow me at my podcast Instagram, tff.podcast, so you guys can catch some clips. I will be making those clips. I haven't made any clips from the podcast. I do want to make like small clips, just so that people who don't watch the entire episode can at least see some of the clips, and maybe from those clips they go and they watch the whole episode. But I just haven't had time to do that. But I'll really try to get those out. But yeah, follow those right there. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.